Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen, cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading, from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello, and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman. On today's episode, I have Daria Lavelle, whose book Aftertaste comes out today, and Kareem, Mr. Bake, Queeman is my guest gay reader. Their bios can both be found in the show notes. Today, May 20th, happens to be my wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to my husband, Franklin. Love you. If you are new to Gaze Reading, welcome. I'm very happy to have you. If you are coming back, thank you so much for joining again. If you like what you're hearing, please share us with your friends. Follow us on social media. We are at Gaze Reading on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. You could watch these episodes over on YouTube. As a small indie podcast, it means so much. All of the likes, all of the follows, all of the shares, the subscribes, the 5-star reviews really helps get Gaze Reading on other people's radar. And I appreciate all of you who have helped push Gaze Reading even further into the universe. I have started a Gaze Reading Substack. You could find a whole bunch of really great content over there, including in a couple of weeks, I'm releasing an extremely curated Pride book list. The link to the Substack is in the show notes and also in the link tree on Instagram. I'm continuing the partnership with Aardvark Book Club to provide an exclusive introductory discount. New members in the United States can join today. Enter the code Gaze Reading at checkout and get their first book for $4, and that includes free shipping. And now, please enjoy this episode of Gaze Reading. I met Lucy this weekend.
I heard. I heard you guys hit it off, and she was so excited, and I was so excited, and I love your show, and I love all the people you talk to, so I'm like so excited and thrilled to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Although I will say she did give me a big complex, which like,
oh no.
She was like, what's your aftertaste?
Oh, that's
and
a tough
I
question.
was A, stumped, and then B, so embarrassed that I hadn't thought of it yet. And she was like, well, you better think of it before you talk to her.
Oh, no.
She didn't actually say it like that. But I was like, my instinct was that you were going to get asked that all the time. And that's going to be the topic of conversation. So I'm happy to talk about other things and stuff. Though I do want to hear what your aftertaste is later.
It's funny. I feel like, you can have multiple. And I think it also depends on who you're bringing back, who's bringing you back, what that relationship is like, what that food kind of moment is. So,
yeah.
There's more than one. It's not so easy.
I appreciate that. Thank you for seeing me.
Also, you're probably very like healthy and well-adjusted that you're like, I don't need to come back from the dead. So maybe I don't have one.
No. I was just more thinking about others. And yeah. Anyway, we'll talk. Well, that's that's a rabbit hole to go down in a minute. Do you have an elevator pitch for the book? You do. I've heard you say it. It's very succinct and creative.
I've been trying. Do you want me to give it now? Should we start?
Sure. We've always started. We have started.
I love it.
Me complaining about Lucy is going to be on the beginning of the episode.
Oh, no, she's going to love that. Can't wait. Okay. So what is this book about? What's the elevator pitch? So it is
Of Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle.
Of Aftertaste by me. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, like any good meal. Part ghost story, it's part love story, and it's all food story. So it takes place in the culinary world in New York City, in restaurants and kitchens. And it's about this guy named Constantine who loses his dad at a really young age and soon after develops this ability to taste the food of the dead. So he will experience these dishes and these flavors that he hasn't eaten, that he's maybe never tried before, and he knows that a spirit is there trying to contact him. And this starts with the very first dish, which is his dad's dish. And as he grows up and gets older, he keeps this a really hidden secret. It freaks him out, as it would freak most of us out. And he's in his 30s. He's stuck in this dead-end job. He's washing dishes at a speakeasy, and he decides to finally act on an aftertaste that he experiences there. And he discovers that by cooking the food that he's been tasting, he can actually bring a spirit back from the afterlife for one last meal with somebody they love. So he sets off to open a restaurant in New York City serving closure, and discovers along the way that he's falling in love with somebody with her own connection to the afterlife. And he also discovers, maybe too late, that there are consequences to messing with spirits and the spirit life.
It was hearing you say serving closure, I think on your Instagram or something, where I was like, that is a 2-word description of the book.
I think that's the thing that kind of brings everything out for Constantine. That's what he thinks he's doing. He wants to be the good guy and give all of this to everyone who's eating his food, and doesn't necessarily turn out the way he planned.
Yeah. I'm like, there are so many rabbit holes I want to go down. And if you're a fan of the show, then you know I don't necessarily love taking a straightforward route in terms of talking about things, and frankly prefer to talk about things that you won't be talking about elsewhere.
Which I love.
But I'm curious to hear about your relationship to tarot, to the sort of other world of Aftertaste. There is, let's start with that. And then I'm curious to learn about how you fell down the rabbit holes of like clairgustance.
Clairgustance?
Yes.
Okay, so I will caveat by saying that I'm Eastern European, I'm Ukrainian, and we are incredibly superstitious people. I want to generalize that. My family is, when I tell you, we have a superstition for everything, like you name it, we do it. To the point where, some examples, if I leave the house and I've forgotten something, let's say I forget my keys, I need to return to the house. And before I do anything else, before I find said keys, I have to look in a mirror to make sure that a bad spirit has not followed me in. This is like legit, like I live my life with all of this, surrounded by it. So, things like when someone is traveling, you don't clean the house. Like before you go on a big trip, you have to sit for like a minute. Like all of these things.
How were these things taught to you?
We just did that. My parents just started to always did them growing up.
They did them, and so then you followed.
So I'd be little and I'd forget something. I'd be like, look in the mirror. Go back and look in the mirror. So all of these things are very much around me in my everyday life. And I think I'm also a person who I'm deeply spiritually in tune. I believe in the spirit world. I believe that the people we love we lost don't actually leave us. They're still here in some capacity. Like I can feel their presence at different times in my life. I've had like weird dream experiences where things have come true. So all of that I'm primed for all of the tarot and the afterlife and all of those things, just like living in the world as a person. And it's such a good question. No one's asked me this before, so well done you. When I was in middle school, I read an article in Teen Magazine, because that was like what you did.
Of course.
And it was all about Nordic runes.
Do you remember who was on the cover?
Oh, God. I couldn't tell. It was probably Brittany or Christina.
I just wasn't sure if it was like a very specific, cherished.
No. Oh my gosh. No, my parents moved recently and they purged everything. So any hope of finding that again is lost. But
that's so funny. Okay, so you're reading this article.
So I'm reading this article, and it was very obscure for teen. It was like, here's how you cast Nordic runes, and you can make your own, and here are all the symbols, and here's what they mean. And if you're not familiar with Nordic runes, it's tarot in the sense that you sleep with this little pouch of rocks, each of which has a little symbol on it, under your pillow. You infuse it with your energy. And then you pull it out and you ask a question. And it's like an open-ended question. And you draw a rune. And just tarot, if it's face up, it means one thing. If it's inverted, it means something else. And rather than giving you like a clear answer, it gives you a question to ask, or like a pathway to think about what this thing means. What are you pondering? So if you ask, should I leave my job? It might say something like, oh, you've drawn Isa. That means stand still. So maybe you're stuck in your job, and think about, are you happy in this current position? Do you want to move on to something different? So it gives you a framework to think about stuff, which is what I love also about tarot. So I got into this whole divination idea.
From this article in this teen magazine?
Yeah, I know. That writer somewhere is like, I've made it. I've done it.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so it's always been part of my life, not in the sense of I'm like reading tarot cards every day, but I think I'm a person who likes to reflect and ask questions, and having that framework of being guided by something is really helpful to me. So that was the way into the character Mora, who is a party psychic. That was my big connection to her. I think a lot of what she does is introspection and thinking about how can this go wrong? How can this go right? What are the different pathways that can be open based on this journey?
I had my tarot read for the first time
Ooh,
a year-ish ago.
exciting.
And I didn't really feel one way or another about tarot. And then she read my cards and I was like, I'm a believer. But I also, someone just told me I had to do my star chart, my astrology chart for when I was
Okay.
born. And the things I not learned, but it said things like, you're a person who has like random minor ailments. And I'm a person who
Interesting.
has random minor ailments.
You know what? People balk at this all the time and they're like, what are you believing in? This is like all hoo-hoo voodoo kind of stuff. And it's, listen, maybe in some people's hands it would be, but I genuinely think there are people who are just like connected to the universe and they put feelers out there and they can
Yeah.
receive in certain ways. And
Yeah.
why should we ignore it? It's
Well,
a data point. It doesn't have to
exactly.
be your whole life, but it's a data
No,
point.
no, no, of course. And I like literally, I have gout, I have kidney stones, I have tendinitis, I've had shingles. Like I'm a
All the
way
minor
to,
ailments.
all the
Yeah.
minor ailment and like so weird. Okay, so how did you get to clairgustance?
Okay.
And can you
So-
explain what that means?
Yes. So I'll start with what it means. So everyone's heard of clairvoyance. So that's like being able to see something from the spirit world. It comes from voyer, which is the verb in French for to be able to see. And there's actually one of these psychic clairs is what they call them, psychic connections for each of the five senses. So you can hear from the afterlife, you can see from the afterlife, you can feel from the afterlife. And so tasting is called clairgustance. And it's interesting because I did not know the word for this going into this story. This is a thing where I was
Oh.
like, I had come up with this idea in like 2013. This scene just came to me. I had worked in advertising. I was one of these stereotypical people where I would like do my day job and then it'd be 7 at night and I'd run over to a cafe and I'd be there with my little laptop clicking away
Yes.
until they kicked me out. And during one of these writing sessions, I had this vision moment, whatever you want, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. And it was this scene of this guy in this really crappy Hell's Kitchen apartment and he's plating this dish and he's like really meticulous about it. He's making it beautiful. He sets it on the table and this beautiful glittering ghost comes through the wall to try to eat the food. And I had no idea what this meant, why the food was there, what he was doing, what she was doing, were they related? Is it random? Can he do this all the time? All these questions. And I knew that it was special and I knew that I wanted to follow it. And it was intriguing to me and it haunted me and didn't want to let me go. And I started to put together over years like little breadcrumbs of ideas, things that seemed related to it, things that didn't seem related to it. And at one point, I was going down a rabbit hole on Wikipedia, as one does. And I don't know how I even got to this page. I must have been searching something about tarot or psychics or something. And I saw this little note for psychic clairs and I clicked and it was one of these, you know how you can get to Wikipedia in a way where there's a lot of really robust information and 1,000 links, or you can wind up on this one page that one person like
It has
accidentally
one
put it
line.
has one line.
Yeah.
That's what this was. It was like there are 5 psychic clairs, one for each sense, and here's what they're called. And clairgustance is the ability to taste something of the dead. So that's where it began and ended. And of course, I tried to search for more information on it, and there just wasn't a ton. It was a lot of similar to the other psychic senses. It's like about a particular person. So if they were a smoker, maybe the medium is tasting a cigarette. If they had a particular lip gloss they wore, maybe that flavor is appearing. But it wasn't in the sense of these meals or sense memory in terms of food. But as soon as I read that, like the light bulb went off in my head. I was like, wait, this is that story. This is that guy in that kitchen and that ghost. This is how that connection works.
Oh, so you weren't doing this, you weren't down this rabbit hole of that idea. You
No.
sort of happened to be down a rabbit hole that then reminded you of that idea. Like, this is where I need to go with it.
Yes, I put that idea away. It was,
Oh, cool.
like I said, it was like 2013 and I had all of those questions and I didn't know the answers yet.
Sure.
And I had this feeling that I was like, this is a really big idea. I need to treat this with the respect and care that it deserves. And I'm not like ready to write it. I tried to write into it a couple of different ways and I kept getting stuck and it kept being just scenes of this guy in his apartment. And I was like, this is bigger than this. What is this? And so I said, okay, I'm going to keep this idea on the back burner, work on some other things. And that's where I was when I had this Wikipedia moment. And I was like, wait a minute, that's it. That's the thing.
That's so fascinating. Have you ever experienced anything like that? Have you ever experienced anything like clairgustance?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think I experience, it's weird, really weird thing to say, textures of words. So it's a different kind of synesthesia. Like when I'm writing, every once in a while, I'll get stuck for a word, and I know what I want it to do in terms of the sound in the sentence, like how many syllables it has to be. Does it end a certain way? Does it have a certain poetry, a certain rhythm to it? And I know what I'm searching for, but and I know the definition of the word, but I'm like searching for the word. And I'll find myself like doing this, like rubbing my fingers together, trying to get the texture. And when I hit on it, it's like I feel it. It's such a weird thing to say, but yeah, I've never confessed that to anyone. So you're the first.
That's so interesting. We never really know where that stuff in quotation marks like comes from. I can't say that I've ever experienced clairgustance either, but I fell down a rabbit hole of taste memories because I talk about sense memories a lot. And there
Totally.
was, with the author Sean Hewitt, he talks in his book a lot about smells. So it's the sense memory of smell. He and I talked a lot about that. And
love
I've
that.
never thought too much about the sense memory of taste, but yeah, food. It's just like associations that we have.
Yeah. Smell and taste are also so related.
Totally.
If you lose your sense of smell, your taste completely changes and gets thrown off. It's fascinating. It's funny. I think you talk about smell reminded me of it. Like, I definitely have really strong sense memories to perfumes too. So I'll smell somebody once and then 6 years later be in a room and be like, oh my God, it's this person.
Yeah. I was going to say that's what a dog must feel like, but that sounds like I like don't mean to sound like I'm calling you a dog.
I'll take it. Dogs are delightful.
Dogs are delightful, but they're so good at that because of smell, and what a cool experience to have to be able to really see someone beyond your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
know?
with food especially, it's such a personal thing too. Like what you eat and what you've had prepared for you and what has formed the cuisine of your childhood as opposed to your flavor profile, your palate as you get older and like you make your own food choices.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And I think cooking for someone is so intimate and cooking together is so intimate and you get to know each other on these different levels. So I think it's it's always a pivotal moment, I feel, in a friendship or a relationship where you have someone to your home and you cook for them and you make them like something that means something to you.
Yeah. What is that thing for you?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I love making comfort dishes. I love making stews and pastas and something that like sits and simmers for a long time and kind of falls apart. So that's always something that I love to cook for people, especially because it's a long ritual of making something. So it takes a lot of care and it's not something you're necessarily going to do on a weeknight after the kids are home from school and you're whipping something together.
Yeah.
So I feel like to me, those dishes that take a lot of time are the ones that I'll go towards.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a chili recipe that I love.
Ooh, yes, please.
Yeah.
I'll trade you. I'll give you my bolognese.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, I think I gravitate towards that. And then I also gravitate towards the food that I grew up with. So my husband is not Ukrainian. And so making some of that food for him, and especially when my parents make it for both of us, it's so nourishing. And like him getting to see a glimmer of what I was like as a kid by eating that food is really special too.
When you think of like a taste memory for you, is it a lot of that? Is it connected to Ukrainian roots or?
I think, yeah, a lot of my childhood memories are all centered around food.
Yeah.
Lots of pельмени, вареники, different kinds of dumplings. My mom makes this one dish. It's called пирожки. It's these little, like these meat hand pies. They're so good. I don't know how they're like, I don't know, Eastern European empanadas. They're delicious. And they're just so good. I don't know how they haven't caught on more here. So that always brings me way back to being a little kid. But it's funny, the taste memories I have that are the most potent are like really random.
Like what?
I have this very bizarre, very negative taste memory of those conversation hearts that you get when when it's Valentine's Day. So I remember being really little, I don't know, 4 or 5, and I was in nursery school, and it must have been around Valentine's Day. I had come with a box of them, and I was not a kid who napped. I hated napping. And this is gonna show this is so basic. So I hated napping. I didn't want to do it. And I had this one really good friend at this school, and she promised me that she was gonna stay up through nap time. And she fell asleep. And I felt so betrayed. I felt so just heartbroken. And I was crying in that way that little kids cry, where it's like heaving and you can't stop and you can't breathe. And I was trying to console myself by eating these conversation hearts. And so they're like dripping out of my mouth. There's like this sad peppermint mixed with tears. So it's like, it was so potent to this day. I can't eat them without that coming back to me.
Yeah, no, of course. It's like really equated to that specific moment.
Right.
Of course you'd feel that way.
And I feel like everyone's got something like that.
Yeah, I have a traumatic experience with a very specific kind of pasta.
Oh no.
And this even like a year ago, I think my husband made it and I took a bite and I was like, I can't, I'll eat this for dinner because I'm hungry, but this is not, I like can't eat this again. Yeah, from some childhood trauma.
Oh God.
Yeah, yeah. The book obviously is so much about food. Something else that Lucy said was the book makes you so hungry. I was thinking that the whole time, but it's such a generic thing that people say about food books. But I was like, no, but this book really makes you hungry.
Thank you.
There's no other way to talk about it. What is your relationship like with cooking, with kitchens, with the New York City food scene? I know you consider yourself a foodie, obviously. Like you couldn't write a book like this if you didn't. Are you a big Michelin-starred restaurant person?
I am incredibly omnivorous in my eating. Like I love a tasting menu. I do. I love sitting down and like being taken care of in that way. And I think part of that experience is so much about the service, even as much as the food. Mm-hmm. And in one of those, when you go to 11 Madison Park, everything is so meticulous and the plating is so meticulous and there's so much storytelling through food. And so I think it's really a special experience to get that. At the same time, I am like the street meat girl. Like you walk past a halal truck and it smells delicious and you can't not stop. Like I love a New York hot dog, like all of that.
Hold on. We have to go back to this. There is this like very frustrating thing too, where the street meat smells so much better than it tastes. Nuts.
The Nuts for Nuts. Oh. I have been betrayed by Nuts for Nuts so many times.
Yes. For anyone who's only listening and not watching, Daria's fist shook in the air. The Nuts for Nuts. I know. It smells so good. But that's the end of that.
Especially on a cold day in New York City, like that caramelized vanilla, that delicious smell is just wafting
like bursting
towards you
through the freezing cold. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can eat exactly 2 cashews, and they're delicious. But then the third one, you're like, this is way too sweet.
Yes.
I need a balance.
Yes. Okay, so you could do everything from 11 Madison Park to
so
a hot dog on the street corner.
Very high and low. And I think that's what I love about New York City, that you can have those experiences and you can have the best meal you've ever had at a total dive. I love that there's a sense of discovery, not just in these really high-end places, but basically you can walk down the street and find a random tiny pizza place and it's like the best thing you've ever eaten.
Yeah.
Which is what I love. And I think I grew up with a family that cooked a lot. My parents made everything from scratch. When I say everything from pickles to smoked salmon till my mom would make farmer's cheese, like all sorts of things.
Wow.
It was just how they grew up, what they did, what their parents did. And so I always had that in my mind. Like the food we ate was never, we didn't go out very much when I was a really little kid. So it was all homemade, at home, traditional food. And then my parents got really adventurous and they started just buying cookbooks and making different cuisines. So that was my introduction to that too.
That's
we had
so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. We had the Food Network on all the time, constantly. I remember being really little, 8 or 9 years old, and I would wake up really early. My parents would be like, go find something to occupy yourself. And so I would make breakfast. I would cook croissants or buns or something like that. And they'd wake up and there would be this like whole spread. So I was always very into it. I loved experiencing what it was like to make stuff because I loved watching my parents do it. So that was my foray into cooking and flavors and all of that. And then as I got bigger, I loved to go to restaurants and try what other people are making.
I had the very opposite experience of you as a kid where Like it was jarred sauce and it was frozen vegetables and it was nothing was made from scratch. So as I got older and I was like, wait, you can roast vegetables with
A whole
oil and
world.
salt and spices and it's delicious. Yeah, it was a whole different experience for me. I'm what you could interpret this question however you want, but what does it mean to be a good taster?
That's a good question. So for me, I think it's being really conscious of what you're eating and thinking about there are lots of ways to taste. And I am absolutely guilty of like when I'm hungry, I will scarf something down and barely know what I'm eating.
Yeah.
But I think if you're really tasting, it's what are the layers that compose this thing? What are the flavors? How do those flavors blend together? Does it feel balanced? Yes or no, and why? And I think part of it too is thinking about where does this dish come from in the world and in terms of like the person who made it for you and how did it come to be on your plate? I think a big part of what I did in writing this book was thinking about what are the dishes that these spirits are eating that are compelling enough to bring them back? And like, why are they eating this particular thing? Why is it this peanut butter and jelly with the crust cut off badly instead of this fancy meal they once had at this 5-star restaurant? So I think part of it is also being able to taste like the memory and the nuance in what you're eating. I think every dish has a story. Even like the fast thing that is put together and slapped together has the story of this is a person who was out of time and they put together something with what they had because they had to feed their family like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea of food as storytelling I find super interesting. My roommate, before moving into an apartment with the guy who would become my husband, he was, I would call him a chef. He would call himself a cook.
The cook.
He was a cook at Per Se.
That's very fancy.
Yeah. I mean, he was like capital C cook.
Yeah.
And it was always so interesting to be a fly on the wall because he would be cooking at Michelin-starred restaurants and you come home and eat a Subway sandwich
Yeah.
or order Domino's or sometimes he
Of
would cook
course.
and sometimes he would cook for himself and he would let me taste and it would be like the best carbonara I've ever had or I will never forget he made this lasagna once.
I'm already drooling.
I know, it was just like out of control because he went to Le Cordon Bleu. He like fully understood what it meant to cook a meal.
I also feel like getting to see into different kitchens and getting to experience what is it like at that Michelin-starred, rave review, world-renowned kitchen versus what is it like at the diner down the block. I think it's, in some ways, it's very different. In other ways, you're still making food, right?
Totally. Right.
So it's
the goals
still,
are the same.
The goals are the same, and a lot of the techniques might be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your level of exactness in terms of execution
Sure.
and precision might differ.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the goal is still to give something delicious to the person eating it.
That's a very interesting point because there's a difference between your goal and the expectation of the consumer,
Yes.
right? So your goal is the same, but the expectation of the consumer is different at a diner versus at Per Se. Yeah,
Correct.
you're still cooking a great meal. Yeah. Going back to just talking about taste, my brain kept short-circuiting because I was thinking about taste as in what you're putting in your mouth and as in like your taste in
Music.
art, your taste in music, your taste in clothes, and just like how it all sort of interconnects. And like did the like etymology of the word taste, did you come across anything like that when you were writing?
So funny. What a good question. I didn't come across anything like that specifically as I was writing, but I think when you build character, that kind of naturally happens, right? Especially this book forced me to think about character in a different way because I was using taste and using food as a proxy for, in another book, that character might have just been described based on what they were wearing or what kind of job they had or where they lived, their background, all of that. And I found that I was using the aftertaste and their dishes as the way to draw all of that out. And so I think naturally you're describing the physical taste of the food they're eating, but that's so informed by their like the other taste, their
Who
taste
they
in
are.
everything else
Yeah,
who they
yeah.
are. So I think subconsciously I had to think about all of that. And every single dish is very much informed by who these characters are and how I saw them and where they are in the world and why
Totally.
something would appeal versus not. And like where they were at the point in their lives when they ate this dish and what their taste was then. So I think all of it plays. And I think you're right that like your palate is, you're still you. It's consistent whether you're eating something for dinner or you're choosing what to wear, what music to listen to, or a book to read.
I was curious. I Googled what's the origin of the word taste.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, interesting. In the root word is an Old English word that means to perceive with the tongue.
Okay. I can see that.
Tashian? But so what I find fascinating, I guess my point really is that I kept wondering, chicken and egg, like taste in music, does that come from taste in your mouth? I guess the answer is yes, if the origin is from your tongue.
I bet it. And you know what? Is it a Greek origin?
Oh, no. Old English, I think it's
Old English?
Yeah, Old English.
Because it reminds me of like how in ancient Greek there was like the wine red sea, but the ocean was perceived as being blue because of certain things. So did you have the language for something? I wonder if there's some sort of further back.
Yes, I was going to say something else. In Hebrew, it's about perception.
Okay.
So that's interesting too. So like the taste on your tongue is that perception on your tongue. Your taste, that perception in your ears. Oh, fascinating.
Like your audio flavor profile. I love that.
Yes, exactly. Because it also just had me thinking about my background is in theater, and theater is an ephemeral art form, and never really thought about food as being an ephemeral art form as well.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where like you can only eat a particular thing that way the one time.
One time.
And that's what's so funny about this premise, because Constantine's whole goal and attempt is to recreate that thing you had the one time exactly the way that it was, using obviously like the chicken that he's making is different from the chicken that you had 10 years ago. But he's trying to replicate what that experience is like on the tongue, and he's doing it by interpreting the taste that you're sending to him.
And what I find so interesting too is he doesn't necessarily recognize, he doesn't know all the flavors. He doesn't know all the tastes. So there's something so interesting about like how you inherently know something that you don't actually know.
It's like that's that medium working through him, this subconscious, like he's getting fed not just the flavor, but like what these ingredients are so that he can go ahead and try to replicate it.
It's so funny what you just said. You said he's getting fed. And there's so much of that throughout the book.
So I only talk in food puns now.
But what's hilarious is like they don't even, unless you sort of circle back to, oh yeah, this is a book about food, they're so naturally put in. What did I specifically write down? Oh, something being worth their salt. And I was like, okay, that's like a turn of phrase someone would say, but it just so happens to also be very inherent to the book.
I'm very big on wordplay. It's something that I love to do in writing. And I'm also really big on like shop talk, for lack of a better word.
In
like
what way?
In the sense of, I feel like you can really get inside a character's head if you understand the speech of their job or the place they live or their vernacular in a way that makes it feel so much more authentic than if you don't have that. It seems like such a little thing, but just being able to get kitchen talk, or if you're talking about a mechanic, getting all the auto parts right, which I could never do. But I think having that infuses this sort of like verisimilitude. And for me, having the language of food live in the story was a really important way to constantly bring the reader back to the fact that this is about food, this is about connection. Look at all of the ways that food affects our lives beyond just breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. And yes, it is a book about food. Yes, there's a lot of allusions to food. Yes, it is. There is a lot of joy, but there is this very interesting like macabreness to it. And again, something I heard you talk about on your Instagram, and I thought about while I was reading, forgot, and then heard you say it on your Instagram. But it is a cousin of Pushing Daisies.
Yes, very much.
And there is this like happy sadness to the whole book. What was balancing that like for you?
It was really intentional because I knew when I had this idea that I was going to be talking about ghosts and the spirit world and the afterlife and grief and loss, but I also didn't want to write a book that was just sad.
Sure.
So I wanted to make sure that it felt like a meal. It felt balanced. It had the happy and the sad. And I wanted to make sure that Constantine and Maura and Frankie and the other characters around him could experience life to its fullest, because I also feel like that's one of the magical parts of New York City. And especially if you're talking about food and New York and being young and exploring all of that, I think the joy jumps off the page. It wanted to be there.
Yeah.
I wanted to use the book as a way to remember the places that I loved in my 20s and 30s in New York City. So many of the places that pop up throughout the book are either like actual real places that you could have visited in 2017 or like very
Versions of
thinly
them.
veiled versions.
Yeah. Speaking of, you talk about how no two people can experience Manhattan in the same way. Obviously, that is we're on our own journey. In turn, no one can experience it in the same way. But could you articulate how you experienced Manhattan?
Yeah, I think I was, at the time when we lived in Manhattan, my now husband, my then boyfriend / fiance, and I had just gotten engaged. I had just left my job in the suburbs of New Jersey and was working at an ad agency in New York City. I was young and in my 20s, and I had all of these interests and pursuits. I was writing, I was going to the opera, which I'm obsessed with, like a little old lady.
Husband is too. And
love-
I was not a fan.
I'll convert you, don't worry. If you know what to look for, it's really good. But
Okay.
I was having these moments in my life where I was just saying yes to everything. I didn't have a lot that was holding me back. And so I was going out with friends and trying new foods and going to these fabulous restaurants and going for drinks after work. And it was just vibrant and fun. And those were like the memories that I was trying to put into Constantine, despite the fact that he wants to be antisocial and he wants to be reserved and not do those fun things. Thank God for Frankie, who pulls him out and pushes him into seeing the world for what it could be.
Yeah, I love that. You talking about your Manhattan made me think about my Manhattan, which in turn like popped up other potential aftertastes of mine.
Oh, share.
Is the ricotta cheesecake at Peppolino.
Okay.
Have you ever had that?
No, but
Okay.
now I'm putting it on my list
It
right
is.
now.
It is a must. It is a must go. It's way downtown. There is
Literally typing it right now.
my husband and I like walked through the snow one day to go get the cheesecake at Peppolino. There is a restaurant on Houston called Arturo's.
Okay.
It's an Italian restaurant that is like my husband's family has been going for decades.
Amazing.
And so I have also been introduced to this place and have been going now for many years. And their chicken parm is just like,
I love a chicken parm.
it like makes my mouth water.
It's a perfect food.
Seriously. And they like, oh my God. My former roommate Jackson is going to be so embarrassed. But it's, what's the word? They like pound
Butterfly
it.
it?
No. They like, it's pounded. It's
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. For
called
schnitzel,
something.
it has
Yeah,
a
it's
word.
like a schnitzel. Yeah. And it's so good. So it's like thin and delicious. Anyway,
So
Arturo's.
good.
What's yours? I have another one I'll share with you in a minute.
Okay, so I have a very...
What's yours today?
I have a lot of different ones, but this is the one that I always default to because I think this is the one that has the best expression of what an aftertaste is. So it's very specific. It is the chocolate cog dessert that was on the menu at the Jules Verne restaurant, which is on the Eiffel Tower, circa 2012 in the fall, which is when my husband, then boyfriend, and I were there. We took a trip and we had 2 nights in Paris, and he surprised me with this incredible reservation at this restaurant. And it was beautiful. Like you're up on the Eiffel Tower and like the sun had just set. It was gorgeous. And they served us this dish that was like literally the size of a dinner plate, like a chocolate cog, like a piece of hardware holding the Eiffel Tower together. And it was mousse and it was decadent and rich and delicious. And we ate a couple of bites and we were both so nervous we couldn't finish it because I suspected that he might be about to propose and he knew he was about to propose. And so we had this dish and then we went out to he found this like weird back entrance to this balcony that overlooked Paris, and he got down on one knee and he asked me to marry him. And then it started to pour rain. So we're standing there and it's super romantic and we're like drenched and newly engaged and in love and like this taste of chocolate and the smell of just rain in the air. That's my aftertaste. That would bring me back every time.
I love that. That reminds me. What's funny, the few that came to mind, like, I think have meaningful connections, but not necessarily one story that I deeply connected. I think I didn't go deep enough is what I'm saying. Not that they're bad. I know you're not judging me. I'm judging myself.
Zero judgment.
So I'll share two others. One, the first that came to mind was when I was living in Harlem. I would go to a bodega and like basically build my own bodega sandwich.
Okay.
And
as one does, as one must.
Yeah. And it like wasn't one of their pre-made ones. It wasn't the typical turkey sandwich, but it was like a spicy chicken with pepper jack cheese
Yum.
and sauteed peppers and onions with mayo.
Well done.
And it was just like, it was like my go-to order. And they, to the point where the bodega knew what my order was. And it just like, that sort of as a New Yorker was so special to walk in somewhere and they like know what your special order is.
Yeah, your regular order.
Yeah. So that was the very first thing that came to mind. After hearing your story, when my husband and I were on our honeymoon, we were in Rome and we were at this fantastic restaurant called De Enzo. And it's in Trastevere in this like a little alleyway. Oh. And literally our table was in an alley and we had to move it to different times so that a small car could go by. But we ordered tiramisu for dessert and they only had one left. So we got the last tiramisu. We shared it.
I love
At the
that.
very, very bottom was like I can't remember if it was like a truffle. I think it might have been a truffle. Like a chocolate truffle that like burst in my mouth. And it was one of the most delicious things I've ever had.
I love that.
There was only one.
Oh.
And so I'm the only one of the two of us who
got
tasted
to experience
Yes.
it. So your husband can only live vicariously through your description.
Exactly. And it was the very
no.
last tiramisu, so we couldn't even get another one. And
you know what you have to do? You have to go back and
I know. So that for me, I think it encapsulates an aftertaste even more.
But also that's real love that you got to have it.
I don't think at the time we realized it was the only one. I was like, oh my God, what did I just put in my mouth? And he was like, tell me more. Let me have some. And there wasn't I know. It was not a conscious choice. I know.
But I love that. It's a moment that you guys remember together and that you're in this special experience together. Yeah. That is what an aftertaste is.
Yeah.
For sure.
This has like only been a conversation about food. What does it mean to you to feel full, to be satiated?
I mean, I think there's the physical sense of you've eaten a really delicious meal and you feel like your body is no longer hungry. But I'm also an emotional eater. And so if I am sad or upset about something, I will eat the whole bag of chips. I will take down the whole thing of M&Ms, all the Reese's in the house. And so I think for me, part of feeling satiated is also feeling like safe and comfortable and feeling like a sense of calm and peace. And so I think the meals that I have where it's really relaxed and I'm with my family and we're having a conversation and it's one of those, the dessert has been lingering out on the table and you're sitting with your coffee and you're just like talking and everyone's just happy and you're like making that moment. Like that to me is the most satisfying.
Yeah, it's so funny too because like that all makes complete sense to me. And yet I also I'm thinking about what it means to have a full heart and what it means to be satiated emotionally or mentally and the ways that, I don't know, the way that we compare everything in our world to food and sort of feeling full and fulfilled. Yeah. And I find that very fascinating.
Yeah. I think there's a big connection between being satiated and feeling fulfilled with the fullness.
Yes.
But there's also similarly, there's so many ways to be hungry, right? There's the physical hunger and then there's like hunger for touch, hunger for attention, hunger for affection, for connection. And so one of the things that I wanted to try to play with in this book too was the discovery of all of those things and the different kinds of hunger.
Totally. Well, I think that's why all of the sort of wordplay felt so natural because that's the way to describe it. Right. You are hungry for touch. There's no other way to say it.
There's no other way to say it.
Yeah. Okay. Lightning round.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm ready.
Sweet or savory?
Oh, no. That I can't answer that. Sour?
Curveball.
Maybe neither.
Curveball. Okay. Breakfast, sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Oh, interesting.
Sweet.
Okay. Breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Dinner for breakfast.
Whoa.
Very,
so
very
many
weird.
curveballs. Oh
Very
my
weird.
God. Tacos, hard shell, soft shell.
Yes.
Yes, good answer. Coffee or tea?
Coffee in the morning, tea at night.
Pizza, pineapples, yes or no?
Yes. Yes, but not always.
Sure, fair, totally fair. Right, yes, asterisk. Chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, that's not fair. Swirl. Swirl.
I love a swirl.
A soft serve
A soft
is a
serve
beautiful
swirl.
thing.
Yes.
A beautiful thing with
it's
sprinkles.
so specific. Ice cream in a cup or a cone?
A cone.
Interesting. Okay.
Cone, a sugar cone with sprinkles and like maybe a cherry.
Very traditional. Look at you. Cookies, soft or crunchy?
Oh, I'm going to get pushback for this, but I like a crunchy cookie.
Fair, totally fair. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Fries or onion rings?
Also, yes. I love an onion ring.
Okay, let's get specific. What kind of fry?
I think a sweet potato fry. If I have to really choose like a traditional potato, then
No,
I'll do
sweet potato's fine. That's a fair
I'll
answer.
do a truffle fry with like some cheese, which is like so blasphemous. So I grew up eating this dish my mom makes, which is just like potatoes cut up into like little triangles, then fried in a pan with a lot of butter.
God. Yeah.
And sometimes with like sauteed mushrooms. And maybe I had too much of it as a kid because I've never been like regular French fries are not my obsession.
That makes total sense. I would be the 100% same way. Okay, finally, and this one is very important to me.
Ooh, okay.
Creamy or crunchy?
Okay. It's been a long evolution.
Oh my God, I want to hear everything.
So I was a crunchy girl like my whole life. Okay, so actually, first of all, we have to go way back.
Bring it on. Give me this aftertaste.
So we never had peanut butter as a kid growing up. Never. And I wanted it so desperately.
God.
So my family emigrated when I was little.
Uh-huh.
We came here when I was 2. And all the kids in the cafeteria would be eating peanut butter and jelly because
Obviously.
this was before you couldn't have peanut butter in schools anymore. But everyone would having peanut butter and jelly, and I would be there with some thing in the Tupperware that nobody could pronounce and just feel other and different, even though it was food that was comfortable and made me feel like home. It wasn't what everyone else was eating.
Sure.
And I was so desperate to be like American enough and to fit in. I begged for peanut butter. And my mom was convinced that peanut butter was like super bad for you, full of sugar, like full of fat, just whatever. Like as much as I asked, we never had it. And so left to my own devices, when I got older, I would just buy the whole jar and eat it with a spoon.
Yes.
So I was very much a crunchy girl.
Uh-huh.
Loved having the grit and the bits of peanuts. Could not fathom for the life of me people who had smooth peanut butter. I was like, but why? What even resembles a peanut in this? I don't know. So now I have children. Now I have kids and they like smooth. And I will say that I have come around because spreading smooth peanut butter on something like an apple or a piece of celery is very, like, it's very decadent feeling. It's nice.
Totally fair. Do you keep both in the house?
No, I just keep the stuff for my kids now. I've let go of my crunchy obsession.
Okay.
What about you?
When I had Catherine Newman on, we have a very long conversation about this, but I have always been a crunchy person. I've continued to be a crunchy person. I found out at this point, like a year and a half ago, that my husband prefers creamy. And this was...
That's real love. Okay, that right there.
That's exactly what she
love.
said. That's exactly what she said. I was like, this has been... at that point, we'd been together for 10 years. And I didn't even know. So now we often have both crunchy and creamy. And every once in a while, I'll use the creamy when I'm feeling a little...
I love that. I also
crazy.
feel like there should be a blend. There should be a less crunchy.
Interesting.
Just sprinkled here and there throughout, maybe.
You can buy just chopped peanuts and then
That's right, and
sprinkle a little
but
bit.
it's different because they're not enrobed in.
That's
they
true,
haven't
right?
been
They haven't like
sitting.
slightly been softened by oils. And, okay. We should write to someone. Aftertaste, congratulations.
Thank you.
Everyone go buy Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle. I could talk to you about food all day long.
Same.
I love this.
This was so much fun.
So much fun. Thank you for being here and have a
Thank you
wonderful
for
rest of your
having me.
day.
This was a delight.
Guess gay weird time.
That's not a Mr. Big Cat. That's just a Big Cat.
Yes. To be honest with you, so I am Mr. Bake is the more of the formal, but when I got the name, it was by my friend, and we all the same age. And we was like our young 20s.
So he wouldn't call you Mister.
Exactly. The girls was like, we're not calling you Mister. So they made it more street, more urban. So they said, we're going to call you Bake. And it clicked. So everybody he introduced me to was like, oh, this is my friend Bake. This is my friend Bake. So then it took people like 2 to 3 years to be like, okay, I'm sorry. What's your real name? I'm like, it's Kareem, but you can still say Mr. Bake. You can still say Bake. It's cool. Yes.
So in your 20s, you were Bake. In your 30s, you're Mr. Bake. In your 40s, you're going to be Daddy Bake.
I like you already.
Are you excited? Are you excited for Daddy Bake era?
I am excited. Because you already know at 40, they already coined the gays as being too old anyway. So it might as well go ahead and be Daddy at that point, because they're going to make Uncle Remy and all of that. Or what's up, Unc, and all that. You're like, I am not that old. Stop it.
Uncle Bake.
Uncle freaking Bake.
Bake. Oh my God. My birthday was last week, and
Happy belated.
Thank you. I'll send you my address so you can send me a cake. That's the only reason why I wanted to talk to you.
Did you use to be already for my cake? You wouldn't even get, just like the girls. Just
Honestly,
like the girls.
My husband baked for me, so I have nothing to complain about. It was delicious. Kareem Queeman, a.k.a. Mr. Bake.
Yes.
Welcome to Gays Reading.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I'm obsessed with how this came to be. You liked or commented on the episode with the fab R.K. Russell. And I was like, who's this human? And I saw a clip of you, and I was like, he needs to be a guest on Gays Reading. And I wrote to you, and you were like, I don't have a book.
I was like, I don't have a book, I think this is the wrong person.
And I was like, no, it's not only for authors, also for readers. And your response was, oh, I love reading.
Yes, correct.
So, Kareem, what are you reading? Mr. Bake, what's on your to read list right now? What's happening?
Yes. So actually, I have a stack of books I'm reading.
Oh my
right
God.
now.
Yes.
Yes.
The amount of people who come to me with a stack of books, I'm like, it gives me chills.
I am reading 3 books off and on. Yes, but I focus on at least one book as being like the primal book that I'm reading, so that I know that I need to finish that book. The other book is usually more in the self-help range, because that I can pick up, put back down, pick up and put back down.
Right.
So,
you don't need the continuity of the story.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. And then I have 3 books is because I'm actually about to moderate a conversation with a friend of mine who just published his first cooking story book. So I'm reading his book so that I get my questions and get ready.
We have a moderator on the line. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you.
Yes, I'm excited for myself.
Have you ever done that before?
So I've moderated panel discussions before, just about small businesses, about the business of being queer, anything like that in that realm, but
It's a hard
never
business. Being queer.
Girl, who you telling?
I'm still waiting for my paycheck.
Don't. Please do not. You live in America. Please do not
No.
carry me down that.
It got lost in the mail. B, the taxes have been taken out, and so it's $0.
All right, so that book is called Read a Pizza by Muhammad. And it's basically, he is a business owner in Philadelphia, which he has a pizza shop. And his pizza shop is catered towards creating a space for incarcerated people, especially within the Pennsylvania incarcerated system. So all of the employees that work for the company has gone through the system in some form, if they've been locked up or been on house arrest or any of that nature. So he creates a safe space for them, and also while diminishing their return rate back into the prison system.
That's so cool.
Yes. And that's why I want to talk to him even more
I have
about
so many questions already.
So we have this fabulous, beautiful book with all these amazing colors of just people enjoying the pizza or the wings at the shop, outside of the shop. And then as well as the story of how he got started, how he picked his sous chef. He talks about how he was on house arrest during the process of building out and the opening of the pizza shop.
Wow.
And then how we found his original sous chef, but that didn't work out. And then that sous chef introduced him to someone else who then became the executive and the main chef who developed most of the pizzas, sauces, and combinations that they now currently have at the shop.
That's so cool. So it's stories. Is it also recipes?
Correct. It's stories and
Okay.
recipes.
Oh my
so you
God. And pictures.
Exactly.
It's a book for everybody.
It's a book for everyone. And then not only does he do this, and as I'm reading through, he also gives you little citations and quotes about the incarcerated system in America at the bottom of almost each page. So he takes us like 1705, Virginia slavery codes was acted, and he talks about all of that. So you understand how the criminal system has been developed over years in the United States, excuse me. So it's a history book on the American incarceration system. It is a history book on him and his business owners and executive chefs, or how they got started and their run-ins into the incarceration system. And then it's a recipe book for anyone who's interested in diving into breads and pizza making.
The moment we get off this call, I'm ordering it for myself. This is awesome. Oh my God. See, this is the reason why I do this. I don't always know what people are going to bring to the table. So this is so good to know about.
Yes.
All right, what else
absolutely.
are you reading?
Yes. So then my everyday book is
Okay.
Isaac's Song by Daniel Black. So it's the second edition to his first book. And I read the first book while I was in a book club. I was a part of a book club, a queer book club at that.
Yes. What?
Yes, a queer
Oh my
book
God.
club for about 3 years in the DC area. And we read his first book. And then I realized when he had his second book come out, I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now I'm reading this book. Oh my God. And this book is so beautiful. You know about the first book. You talked about his first book. And his first book was basically the father's perspective of how he was raised in the rural South, one generation out of slavery, and then moving a little bit, still in the South, but just moving and created his own family, started his own family, and then his child wound up being queer. And him navigating that, having this different son, air quotes, as well as navigating what it means to be a father and provide for his family. And then now, oh my God, we get the perspective of his son.
Yes.
And I tell you, Daniel Black is an amazing writer. From going from that first read and now getting the young man's perspective, and then knowing the perspective of the father. So I'm reading it like, Dad, say something, because I know what you're thinking already, because Daniel already exposed us to the father's internal thoughts. And now we are on the journey of the young man who is finding self-love. You know what I mean? Learning to love all of himself, but also learning to see his father, or both his parents, honestly, in a different light. And it's been a beautiful journey through the help of a therapist. So it's also normalizing something that is so taboo in the Black queer community, Black community in general, but then specifically in the Black queer community, where we don't go and seek therapy as a form of mental health. Most of us either navigate through life, we lean on our friends, or we go to some type of our spiritual homes or practices to seek advice for how to navigate life. So this is just
maybe you
such a
take it out
beautiful
in what you bake.
book. Oh no, honey. Okay, listen, honey. I'm a proud recipient of therapy, baby.
Yes,
So
we love it. Me too.
I tell everybody, you need to go talk with somebody, girl, because you come to me every day, and I am listen. I'm waking up every day trying to show up for me,
Yeah.
and that's a journey in itself.
Yeah.
So,
But also, if they're going to pay you, then maybe.
these girls, these children,
No,
are
I'm
not
saying
paying me.
I know, but if they did, that's a different story.
No shade if they did. So I was always called Mother Goose of the group of my friends. So I have that mother instinct that come sit on my lap, let's talk, have a glass of champagne or Prosecco and just rat it out. So now I'm in my life where I'm like, no, honey, I'm doing way too much for not just my small knit friends and community. I'm doing it for the world now.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Goose evolved into Mr. Bake. Come on.
Exactly.
Next is Daddy Goose and then Daddy Bake, as we have already established. Come on, friends, get it together. Oh my God.
And then my book, I haven't opened this book yet, but it's definitely on the nightstand, which is lighter.
Oh.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Let go of the past, connect with the present, expand the future. What do we think? What is this about? What do we think?
So basically,
what is it going to help you with?
Is basically going to, I'm hoping, because I've read several of his books before, is going to help me look at life just look at life differently. I'm always into self-help. I'm always into how can I use the power of language to help have to give to other people to help navigate their lives. So one of the things I do outside of baking and do media is I talk and work with a lot of young youth. I talk to a lot of high school students who are about to graduate high school and embark on whatever is next for them. May it be college, entrepreneurship, or whatever. So I use these books to not only strengthen myself, but also have tools that when I'm speaking and presenting and mentoring the youth, I'm giving them good notes that they can take on into their journey of life. So sowing a seed, basically.
Yeah. My time with you was limited, but I have so many follow-up questions. Like, how did you get into that? That's so interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm also like brainstorming what your book could be, thinking about We the Pizza. It could be like baking, but also little notes to young people about living your best life and pursuing. I'm writing your book for you. It's what I'm telling you.
And
I'm so excited.
If you are a writer, please reach out to me.
Right, all the listeners, if you want to ghostwrite a book.
I started writing a book, so it's interesting you say that. I started writing, and it's basically going to be similar to what you said. I am basically lining up recipes that built Mr. Bake. I started baking since I started baking at a young age of 10 years old through interest of just sweets. And then in middle school was solidified that this is the industry that I wanted to tackle and go into. So I'm giving all the starter recipes. I want to talk about when I didn't believe in myself and, how I then showed up with this particular recipe and then won over all competitions that I have entered in as well.
Is that your sweet potato cake?
It's the banana pudding that started me off.
The banana pudding that you made with Kelly Clarkson?
Yes, yeah.
I consume your content.
Yeah.
Come on, I prepare for my interviews. Your banana pudding is what started it all. Okay.
Yes. So that won me my first ever competition. So talking about the story of how I made that recipe in my room in the dark, because my mother, if you know anything about certain households, especially in Black households, when the kitchen is cleaned and the dishes and the food is done and the dishes is done and the floor is mopped, the kitchen is closed, baby. And my mother was like, I don't care what you want to do, you're not doing it in there. So I took everything, the hand mixer, the bowls, the bananas, everything, the cutting board, and only with the TV light, I made this banana pudding to get to school the next day and wound up winning over 30 other desserts that were entered into the competition.
Oh, that's amazing. And I heard on, I want to say another podcast, that you weren't allowed to have an easy bake oven as a kid.
No.
Which
was no.
But do you think that actually helped you? Because you
not having one?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
you went from the easy bake oven to the hard bake oven. You
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It did help. It helped in a way of it forced me to work with a real oven.
Skipped the easy part and went right to no. All right, well, if I can't do it the easy way, I'm going to do it the real way.
Listen, nobody was going to stop my joy and stop this interest in baking for me. So it'll be stories like that, telling people to, even if your parents or people you love don't believe or understand what you're doing, you have to still keep pressing on. When you have a burning desire inside of you, still keep pressing on.
That.
Yes.
You, in another conversation, said that you like your food to taste like you at your best. What does
Yes.
that mean to you?
That basically means that we are not only chefs and artists, we are also storytellers. You tell stories through the food in which you make, especially if you go to school and get trained. You typically get immersed in French technique and French style of cooking that you lose what you grew up eating. And that's a representation really of who you are. When you're saying, when I'm telling you I'm my banana pudding recipe and I was able to make it for Kelly Clarkson, I'm sharing the story of my aunt sharing that recipe with me, and then me sharing that recipe with all the high school entries that I competed in that competition. You know what I mean? And then to take that and now spread that joy along the world. So I'm telling the story of my food through that.
Yeah, we're not just tasting your training.
Exactly. You're also tasting and hearing and feeling
Yeah.
the food.
I can, like,
you know what I mean?
see the young person with the blue light glowing from the TV in his room. Yeah. Oh, how special. I love.
Yes.
Where can the people find you?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram, Mr. Bake Sweets. So that's MrBakesweets as well. Okay, you got to give them all of that. That
Yes,
S.
you do.
Okay. And the
Oh my
website
God.
is the same, MrBakesweets.com. My X is the same, Mr. Bake Sweets. And my
Sweet,
TikTok
all
is
the-
the only one. TikTok is the only one a little different. It's Chef Kareem, Mr. Bake Queeman.
Yeah. Oh, nice and long. Got to keep it long for the TikTokers.
Stop it.
Okay, a question that I've been asking everyone that I think that is like new and different and important, because in a world where we want to amplify the people that are near and dear to us and who make us who we are, when you die, who would you turn to delete your search history on your computer?
That is the most fun and random question. Who thinks of that? Oh, I 100% would give it to my best friend who I've known and family now since 1994, Dr. Shaniqua Johnson. She knows all the tales.
And she's
she-
a doctor.
And she knows, she knows.
Or do you
Let me
just call
go
her
ahead.
doctor? Is she a doctor like your like your daddy?
No, she's
She's actually, she has a degree.
she has a degree. She's
Okay,
a
okay.
doctor.
She just likes diagnosing people.
Oh my God. So she would definitely be the one. She already has a lot of access now. So she would definitely be the one.
Oh my God, yes.
She knows
we
all
love
the
her.
and she knows all the dark alley tales, honey, up the back. She knows all the young bake tales.
Yeah, baby bake.
That baby bake, baby.
Yes. Oh my God, Kareem, Mr. Bake Queeman, thank you so much for
Yes.
being here.
No, thanks for having me. I
What a
appreciate
fab
this
guest gay
moment.
reader. Me too. Everyone go check him out on all the places. You'll be able to say you knew him when, because the greatest of great things are in the future. I'm so excited for you. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
You do the same. Thank you so much, Shay.
Thanks, Daria. Thank you, Kareem. Everyone, go check out Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle. Available now wherever you get your books. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.